Before we kick things off, I've got 2 quick things for you. First, do you want to push real innovation and help spark the uncomfortable but necessary conversations in the concrete industry? Support this show. When you donate, we list you as a producer of the episode because you're literally making these conversations happen. Go to concretelogicpodcast.com/donate and back the show today. Second, for a limited time, you can get free access to the Concrete Logic Academy. Take your first class on us, earn a PDH credit, and stick around for the networking and resources you won't find anywhere else in the industry. Claim your free trial now at concretelogicpodcast.com/academy. All right, let's get into today's episode.
What's the most used man-made material on Earth? I'll give you the answer. Concrete. This is the Concrete Logic Podcast. Have you ever stopped to think about the sidewalks, driveways, bridges, or the buildings around you? They're all made from concrete. So why don't we discuss it more? In each episode of Concrete Logic, we'll explore a unique concrete-related topic with the help of industry professionals shaping the trade's future. We'll talk with suppliers, contractors, architects, engineers, specialists, and even proponents of competing materials. We'll get their views on concrete and their visions for its future. So get ready to mix things up with Concrete Logic, where we turn the spotlight on the material that's everywhere but often overlooked. This is the Concrete Logic Podcast. And now, here's your host, Seth Tandit.
Come on, Peter.
And welcome to another episode of the Concrete Logic Podcast. And today I have Dr. John Belkowitz with Intelligent Concrete.
Howdy, y'all.
And we wanted to talk about a briefing from the American Cement Association, October 20.
Was it October? I thought it was September.
No, it's
October. You're right.
It has an update. It might have came out in September, but it was called Portland Limestone Cement Limits and Indiana Department of Transportation Specifications. And I'm just going to read this first part here, Dr. John.
I'm listening, buddy. Go ahead.
Okay. In May 2025, in response to recent concrete bridge deck defects, the Indiana Department of Transportation, also known as INDOT, issued a recurring special provision to limit the limestone content of type L cement, also known as Portland limestone cement, which I know you enjoyed, Dr. John, to a maximum of 10% by mass. The recurring...
Time the F out. Hold on a second.
No, let me finish.
No,
you can't interrupt.
I got no problem with type 1L cement.
No.
What I have a problem with is complacency.
I just did the
Go
no.
on.
Yeah. I thought I heard you don't like Portland limestone cement. PLC, That's
not what it is. It is a blended cement. It's not a PLC. Go ahead.
But anyways, the recurring special provision is effective for projects lit on or after September 1st, 2025. Representatives of the cement and concrete industry note that it disregards the specifications developed by committees of professionals at the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials and ASTM standards organizations. Needlessly complicates and generates confusion through conflicting requirements, and then lastly prevents manufacturers from effectively optimizing for best materials performance. The American Concrete Pavement Association, the National Ready Mixed Concrete Association, and the American Cement Association oppose the recurring special provision and are pursuing a collaborative approach to address INDOT's concerns. Let's see. On June 19, 2025, the group sent a joint letter to INDOT to request that implementation of the recurring special provision, or RSP, be delayed until a comprehensive root cause analysis can be completed. The following points were raised with INDOT. Limestone content of type 1L cement has no correlation to scaling resistance. The entire concrete system must be evaluated. Admixtures are not a substitute for sound construction practices. Frequent specification changes obscure performance evaluation. Experience in adjacent states contradicts INDOT experience. So,
wow. Oof.
And then it goes
Oof.
on.
Then it goes on. I just want to talk about that first part, which thank you for not sharing, the document that I sent out, because I'm not ready for that
Right.
yet. I'm just looking for an ASTM. But what are your thoughts? What are your initial thoughts when you read this?
Through very previous podcasts, we I think we've warned folks that there could be potential issues with type 1L cement, just and not just based on people coming on here and being anecdotal, I guess. I mean, if you go back to, I think I did episode 126, where we went back and just reviewed the state of art report.
State of the art
report. Thank you. That we were just going through and reading that report is referenced a lot when the American Cement Association sends out whatever papers. They, there's a lot of papers they reference, but that was the one that I saw a lot. So just walking through that. But anyways, going back to that, there's definitely warnings in that paper that say, hey, these are potential issues that you can have with type 1L cement. So it was, one hand, good to recognize that there could be potential issues. So I'm not surprised that this is happening.
Well,
just due to, well, let me finish.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think I pointed out the rapid rise of type 1L cement. If you go back to late 2021, we were floating between, in the United States, the use of type 1L cement was between 10 to 12% of all projects across the United States were using type 1L cement.
Wow.
And we jumped up to over 60% within 4 years.
What?
So that's a rapid change of concrete chemistry in a short amount of time.
Have we ever done that?
I don't know, but that just, my view of that's a rapid change for an industry that doesn't change very quickly. I mean, we always make fun of each other, us, older guys saying, hey, we've been doing it the same way for 20, 25 years. And here we are,
30?
we're changing 30 years. We can say 30 years now. And here we are, we're changing something in about 4 years. So yeah, we're going to have problems.
Like, what do you any other industries, maybe the movie industry? We went to CDs pretty darn quick.
Yeah. As far as technology, yeah.
Transfer.
Because that's what this is. It's a change in technology,
This is not
right?
CDs or iPods. No, this is cement, concrete. Okay, so other industries can make this change because the decisions that they make don't last generations. Like if I choose CDs versus iPods, like I'm not going to damage an infrastructure and cripple, the funding of an entire state or region.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's what, hey, look, new concrete that's magnetic.
Well, that's cool.
I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but it seems like it's pretty effing close. It's not at the small businesses that we went from 12% to 60%. That can't be right.
Yeah.
In 4 years.
It's in that, if you look it up, if you go back to that episode,
I need to read the state of the art.
And then I can say, I can send you my copy of the report, but it's in there. There's graphs. You love graphs. There's a graph in there.
I do.
There's a graph in there. It shows you, we're plodding along, about between 10 and 15% for, ever. And then all of a sudden, boom, 2021 comes in.
You've got to ask yourself, because it wasn't 2021 where it started. And, can you show that graph?
Yeah.
And what I mean
keep
by that,
talking, I'll look it up.
So it's that, for that rise in 2021 to happen, the work started in like 2019 of starting to go to conventions, starting to speak to ready mix providers, introducing this new material. And I mean, case in point, Rich was one of the first ones to get type 1L cement in 2019. And 2021, it started going from the coasts inland, 2009, it started going from the coasts inland. And I remember being at this Utah Ready Mix Concrete Association. We're having hors d'oeuvres or, dessert after lunch. And there's this tall cement guy. I'd never forget how tall he was. I had to look up to talk to him, and he wasn't even looking at me. He was looking like over the crowd. And I asked him, like, "Hey, you guys are really leaning into this one-to-one argument, huh?" He goes, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "So what you're saying is this new cement is a one-to-one replacement for hardened and fresh and everything, durability, to your C-150 or Portland." But, "Oh yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Come on, man, really? Really, really?" And I know that's not scientific. I'm the material science guy. But again, any other industry, like, again, I go back to the Coca-Cola reference. I remember when we went from old Coke to new Coke. Like, jeez, oh Pete, there was riots in the street. All right,
Yeah.
let's see this.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay,
analogy. I
so
was thinking about so I was wrong. It was below 10%. So if you look at this graph, Dr. John, it says blended cement share of total U.S. cement consumption,
mhm.
and then if you scroll above it, right here, so type, where does it say here? Type.
Yeah, the ternary blends, the type
Yeah,
1L.
ternary blends. The strong uptick in blended cement production is a result of increased consumption of PLC or type 1L more than other cements, with the USGS estimating that more than 95% of the U.S. blended cement is PSL. And so this is the use per U.S. Geological Survey data on consumption of blended cement from January 2020 to July 2023.
So, and we're not going to do this, but it's not just the data that I find interesting. What I find interesting is the growth in the data, because you have this, and it's an ugly hockey stick, but you've got a hockey stick. It's more like a goalie stick type curve here, right? And then if we look at certain areas, we have plateaus and we have peaks. If we ignore all of those and just look at the first, major peak, November, January, between Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day, 2021 to 2022. Where were you?
Where
we were
was
still
I?
in Colorado at the time. Yeah,
I was
know
in
exactly
Virginia.
where I was.
Yeah, I was on some major projects.
You're on some major projects, right?
Yeah.
If you're not new to the United States, November to January and February, most of the U.S., except for if you're in the southern part of the U.S., is done. We take a break at the end of October. Normally, we start shutting down around the end of or after Halloween. It really kicks off Thanksgiving. Some of us might come back to work, but once Christmas hits, we're oucha bagoucha through New Year's, even all the way through Valentine's Day. That's not the majority, but that's a large portion of the U.S. And I'm talking residential construction, right? I'm not talking low-end, high-end commercial or coastal construction, especially in the southern states. Does that make sense, Seth?
Yeah, lines up.
Right. So now, granted, this stuff that was over here, the consumption, this is cement being sold. So it's being sold for use. So what was sold in November to February was probably used the following quarter. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, there's going to be a lag there, yeah.
There's going to be a lag. Thank you. I couldn't think of the effing word. So we're really talking about, and again, what you and I were talking about, is work that has to be done ahead of time, the year or two before, to really get people cracking on this. So here's where you have that work of people pushing it into the market in the early 2000 or 2020s, going all the way through the late 2021. Now, as much as it took to get here, what in the hell do you think happened in 2020, the end of 2020, right? 21, that caused that peak in 2022, and it just to take the F off? Because not just, hey, it grew to 60%. Why did it grow to 60% in less than 2 years?
That's when all those plants flipped over to type 1L. cement plants.
I thought that was August 23rd, 2024. Can we do a chat GPT on that real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, don't get upset. I like chat GPT to get us started.
Okay, well, I just didn't expect that.
Well, I mean, hey, you use chat GPT and I'll use Google Scholar. How's that?
Okay.
We'll see
I
what
thought
we
you were
can
going to
get.
use Angry Grok.
It's an angry grok.
So what are we
What's
at?
an
We're
angry-
asking it when did all the cement?
Why did try to upload that paper and ask why was there, what caused the major increase in blended cement consumption for concrete in the U.S. at this time period? Change over to blended. What year was it? 2021 to 2023 in the U.S. concrete industry. Isn't that what I just asked? And folks, I got nothing wrong with using ChatGPT to help your research go faster or to help clean up a sentence. It's when you no longer use it as a tool, but it's doing the work for you that you should be embarrassed. I mean, even ChatGPT is going to get things wrong. Breaking barriers to low carbon concrete pavements. Oh, I can't wait to read this crap.
Do you want me to read what I got?
2024. Yeah, please.
All right. I'll just read the first thing that they.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem.
It says in late 2021 and early 2022, the Portland Cement Association publicly committed to its roadmap to carbon neutrality by 2050. PCA told member producers. By the way, PCA is ACA now. We used to be
Cement
Portland.
to America Cement.
Yeah. PCA told member producers to accelerate the switch to Portland limestone cement as the easiest way to claim a 10% CO2 reduction. The EPA, DOE, and GSA followed suit, pushing low carbon materials and procurement specs in federal projects, which was the Buy Clean initiative. Overnight, PLC became the default cement for DOTs on public bids.
Yeah, and does it say anything about ACI?
No, it starts talking about supply chain.
There was also a big push. There was a big push from all the associations, ACA, PCA, whatever you want to call it, ACI.
Yeah.
There was a huge push. Everybody got together at a table, shook hands, signed with the freaking national president. So, and it was right around this time frame. This is in mathematics. How do you describe this curve? It's a positively increasing gradient around that November 21st. And then it turns into a constantly increasing gradient. Then it slows down to a plateau and then goes back to positively increasing, constant, plateau, positive. Then there's a spike. Then there's a drop off. Yeah, the funny thing would be is why do you see these spikes and these drop off? And I'd love to get Rich's interpretation of the spikes and then the drop offs, the spike and the drop off. Is it rebates? Is it failures? Is it we've got to make the cement differently? Because if anything, anytime you have a peak and a drop off at such a high percentage,
something's going on.
Yeah, all of this tells me something is this plateau and this peak and this drop off. So I'm more interested.
Well, this was the time too where we were, 2020, we were all shut down. So what I was hearing in the field was, I can remember, I'm fairly certain it was going on in 2022 too, was they couldn't keep up with demand. So there was a supply chain crunch going on, and there was an increase, then there was also price increases. So there could have been some demand softening because of the price increases during this time were insane. That would be
only going to get worse. So my argument about what you read, and thank you for reading that. I don't have the patience to do what you did. The 3 bullet items that you shared, that the ACA presented, disregards the specifications, needlessly complicates and generates confusion, prevents effectively optimizing material performance. What's it called? This is not verbatim. I'm paraphrasing. Couldn't that same argument be made for the one-to-one replacement? That was my original question. What Indiana DOT is requiring Could that be argued? Their argument about what Indiana DOT is doing could be argued about the one-to-one replacement sale pitch.
Yeah, you could.
I got to hold on you. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No worries.
I think can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think what you're going to see in that same chart of yours is a positively or a negatively decreasing in 25 on when they update it, or maybe like a drop off and then a plateau. I mean, there's just a lot of people who are going overseas now. And then you have other companies who are starting to buy clinker from other folks and produce the C150 cements that we're used to.
Is that? Oh, okay. I won't. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, this document, the briefing here, the ACA briefing. I mean, they're not saying stop using Type 1L cement. They're just saying they want to keep it 10% or lower. So I don't think it's going to be a reverse of this curve.
No.
Right.
No.
It's going to be maybe a little bit of a decrease because all the big dogs in the ACA are all Type 1L plants.
Is that true?
I believe.
You know that for a fact? Huh? Yeah, I don't think that's true.
You know?
I think you might be able to say that about the ACA. I don't think that's 100% true. I'm not I never say definitive, but the better question is ready mix plants and which ones are starting to gravitate. And again, I agree with what you said. I don't know if you said this, but I don't think changing from 10% to 8% or 12% to 10%, I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference personally. If you still have complacency, if you go from 12% to 10%, if you go from 12% to 3%, like if you don't, all good concrete practices dictate that you do a dial-in process, right? And one reason why I love the Quivus plant is we had a lab over here where we can do 1 to 6 cubic foot batches, tested anything that we wanted to. You had quality control shacks all over the freaking place. And then you had this gorgeous plant. And we could bring the trucks over to the freaking the laboratory or to the quality control shack. And there was like a heater and a microwave in the quality and a refrigerator. It was awesome.
Uh-huh. I
mean, there are concrete companies who do that. They do that nowadays. I sound like I'm, retiring. But, that's the first thing that goes when people try to save money is not just quality control, not just quality assurance, but, I mean, it's more than that. It's marrying your mixes. Concrete production, the great Kevin McDonald. Have you ever seen Kevin McDonald's presentations?
I don't believe so.
Kevin McDonald falls in a long line of amazing concrete teachers, not professors. I like to use the word teacher. I think he was a professor, but he is a true teacher. And one of the things he talks about with concrete mix design is how it relates to, I believe it's a concrete cookie recipe. And if you've never known a professional baker, they know their recipes intimately. And I like the distinction of connecting cookies cookies mean more to us as concrete does. That's why they started with the C. I mean, there's no coincidence that concrete starts with the CO and cookie starts with a CO, and there's a bunch of Ks or Cs or Es in both of them, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's not just a coincidence. And we have to love our concrete recipes as if we were children looking through the window, watching the tiny, teeny chocolate chip morsels melt. And know when the cookies puff up and they brown up top, they're almost ready to go. 10 more minutes, 5 minutes in the oven, 5 minutes of cooling, and you have a crisp, wonderful cookie, right? Most of us understand that feeling, that smell in the kitchen, especially when we were kids. We have stopped treating concrete that intimately. It's not just somewhere along the line, somebody convinced the industry that not only that we need performance-based specifications, but we can make performance-based specifications with performance-based materials. It started with aggregate, it moved over to admixtures, and now we find it not only in our blended supplementary cementitious materials, but also our blended cements. I don't need to tell you what's in this for you to make your performance-based concrete. You imagine telling that to a baker? Don't worry what the flour is, whether it's wheat, bleached, enriched, or tapioca, rice, almond flour. There's an effing difference between those. You can't just say, don't worry. Trust me. I don't know why I'm doing this. We need to know what's in our cement. And I refer back to the great Peter Taylor, who wrote Concrete Curing. I believe it's page 1929, where he goes over the change in cement chemistry and how that impacts the final concrete product. We used to do that. We used to look at mill reports, especially when shit went wrong. And then when that didn't work, we used to get an updated mill report, or we used to send it to CTL Group or somebody like, WJE. Hey, give me this mill report real quick. And then we would do some type of semi-adiabatic calorimetry in the shop to see what chemical signature had changed. And we compared it to old ones. That's not in a line item budget for any of the ready mix providers out there. Sleeping in your plant costs a lot of fucking money. So I don't blame the ready mix providers to a certain degree when they said, hey, we were sold a 1-to-1. Great, but now you still have to take the responsibility of good concrete practices. So just like the 1-to-1, I this is the only thing I think I agree with, is that I don't know if changing it from, you're allowed to go up to 12 or 13%, which is what they're doing. They're not at 10% with a lot of these type 1L cements. They're not 10% limestone. They're normally 12.4. And there is a difference. I mean, we used to only have 3%. Now you're dropping between 10% and the same amount that we used to allow in cement. Like that fluctuation, and then the cement gets caught up in the silos. Why do we have to tell you this? Don't y'all know this? Doesn't the ACA know that? That is what they're trying to do, is just close the barn door. Like originally, it can jump up to 12.4 and it can go all the way down to, what is the number? 7.6, 8.6, whatever 10 minus 2.4 is, 7.6, right? Like that's normally they're going to go up to 12.4 because that's where they're making their kesef, their money, right? And that makes sense. You sell more limestone, you have a greater carbon reduction, right? And you're also making more money too. Limestone dust is what? Yeah, it's $10 a ton. And, somebody asked me, I don't want to say his name, where do you think they're getting the limestone fines from, John? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even ask. And he goes, they're not getting it from the precious limestone deposits. They're getting it from those piles that have grass growing out of it. I don't want to believe that. I really, really don't. That is terrible. I have a lot more faith in the cement industry, just so the ACA understands. If they didn't think about it, this is the thing. People don't think about the freaking math. Why are they asking you to go from the possibility of jumping all the way up to 12.4 to, hey man, if you're going to say 10, stay at 10.
Yeah. I mean, that's
right.
Talking about math and how much you like math. But am I looking at it right? That's a 24% increase.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. That's like,
they're like, oh, it's only 2%. It's only 2.4%, but really it's
fair. Yeah.
That's a lot.
I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, if you're just looking at 10% and you're allowed that leeway and amount of limestone in it, it's a big difference.
You play with the charts. It's called, what is it called? Reagan economics. You play with the charts to make it look as good as you want it to. A lot of industries have used it. Hey, don't worry. This small change is not going to affect you much. It costs a lot of money to maintain any performance in concrete consistently with any effing change. That's why when you look at ASTMC 94, they only allow 2.4% change, right? But that's with weights of material when we talk about additions to a cubic yard. Now, if you go outside of those, you can't sell the concrete, right? Again, we're actually not going up 2.4%, and we're not going up. Our deviation could be 20%. So we can go up or down. More than likely, they're going to go up. Even though they're telling us we're at 10, we're at 12.4. It's a different type of cement. I think that's your argument.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other industry that allows that. Like Coca-Cola, take out 22% of the syrup. And what do you have? RC Cola. It's not Coca-Cola. It tastes totally effing different. Is that a fair assessment?
I guess I did not know that. That's why it's RC Cola.
I was just making that up. You got coffee in the morning. If you take out almost 25% of the sugar or coffee, is it going to taste different?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Why not?
Because I'm going to put something in there with my filler to capture some of that performance that you liked. It's not sugar. Don't worry what it is, but I'm going to get you that performance back. That's what Indiana's arguing. Can I please close the barn door? Can I please close that gap? And what I'm doing now is I'm allowing my local industry, since for some reason, is my local industry being complacent? Is my ready-made? Whatever it is, they can't deal with this big barn door. And I've given them the opportunity. Now, if they're not going to do it, this is the first thing that I'm going to do to try solve this problem. And what are some of the things that they say in here? Needlessly complicates? Like, I don't think that's fair. Like, you know, I know the people who did this work, and there was no needlessly, there was no generalizing, confusion. It was all about making a better concrete for the state of Indiana. And now the recovery effort is the same thing.
I mean, one could argue specs change from job to job, so.
The specs don't change often in the DOT, though. And that inherently becomes the problem. I remember I was working with the New Mexico DOT a decade and a half ago, and we were introducing colloidal silica to them, and we can't use it. I was like, what do you mean you can't use it? Why can't you use it? You haven't even tried it out yet. Well, it's not in the spec. So why does that matter? The material that you have in the spec is no longer in your state. Like, you want fly ash, but all your fly ash is going to California. Like, I don't understand. The material you have is not in the spec. This material, which is abundant and it solves your problem based on a copious amount of research, because it's not in the spec. So that's the funny thing. And I asked ChatGPT that question because this is a philosophical question that we don't have time. And I asked ChatGPT to create a description of the job of a state civil engineer and their role to use the ASTM's, AASHTO's, and other standards as a starting point for designing for the people with the funding they have. And holy shit, did it give me a shtick and a spiel. So I didn't read this yet. I'm just going to read this in short. So it gave me a page of shit, but now it gives me a conclusion. State civil engineers use standards as a starting point, not as a finish line. They interpret ASTM and AASHTO through the lens of people performance and practical funding. Their work is where policy meets pavement and where design becomes service to the public good. All right, ChatGPT, calm down. Calm down. Less aggressive adjectives. That's why I can't stand it. Somebody sent me a paper like, oh, I worked really hard on this and the team worked really hard on this. And I read the paper and you had all those EM dashes, those long, weird dashes, circular arguments. I was like, dude, at least clean those things out at ChatGPT or your finished work. And that is the job of a state engineer, not to use the standards as, well, I don't know what to tell you. You said it best, Seth. How did you just say it? Specifications.
Change from job to job?
Yes, that's what it's supposed to be if you're worth your weight as an engineer. And I guess this is the first time that the ACA has dealt with an engineer that gives a shit about their concrete. And I shouldn't say one, it's a lot of engineers in Indiana who care about what comes out of that chute and what is placed.
Well, I'm sure all the DOTs are paying attention to this.
I hope they pay. And I've been saying this for years. Before Indiana had to deal with this mishigas, they already had a very good maintenance program. Indiana not only has a fair amount of freezing and thawing cycles, but it's also got a lot of wetting and drying cycles. It's why it's the agricultural belt. It dries, or it rains and then it dries, it rains and then it dries, it rains and it dries, so on and so forth, right? And water gets displaced and then it dries, water gets displaced and it dries. So they already had, years ago, I started bragging about, and if you look back on some of your older blah, blah, blahs that we did, I was bragging about their maintenance program. Every 10 years they evaluate. If it's in deter, they mill the surface, they add an overlay. At 20 years, they mill the surface, they add a polymeric overlay. I mean, they have a very good inspection program too that's given by the feds. I mean, they do a good job of not just putting concrete down, but evaluating it and maintaining it. And I would constantly say other states need to look at their quality management program because I hate it when they call it quality management. I liked the idea of preventative maintenance because holy shit is their concrete good, right? Especially if you drive from Chicago or Ohio over to Indiana, you'll see the difference right away as you cross into the state. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Yeah. So my point, just to wrap this up, because I can hear that tone in your voice. I thought this was. I thought these first top 3 bullets. It disregards the amount of work that actually went into Indiana that precluded this. Before we ever had Type 1L, 2019 to 2021, some of the best concrete was made in the state of Indiana. Some tough words there, necessary, and I think it's just deflecting because that same language can be used for the one-to-one argument.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it definitely, hopefully this gets this on everybody's radar and we're all paying attention. And I think that was kind of part of the problem, that we didn't know this was happening out there. So
we got too lazy. The ready-mix industry, we were spoiled with fairly good rock in 19, and the cements at that point were a maze craze. Yeah. My favorite cement is Sugar Creek Cement from Independence, Missouri.
There.
Or
Shout
the
out.
Alpena cement, like the Alpena cement. And then there was this magic sand from Wichita Falls, Texas. Where's Wichita Falls? Not Wichita Falls. Oh, I can't remember where that magic sand was from. I got to go figure that out. Anyway, materials have changed. Our industry needs to.
Yep. I think that's a good way to end today's episode. I will share how to get a hold of Dr. John. You want to reach out and talk to him about this? I'm sure he'd be happy to. And until next time, let's keep it concrete.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Concrete Logic Podcast. If you got value from the show, here's how you can provide value back to support the show. Visit concretelogicpodcast.com and click the donate button to send value back. All dollar amounts are truly appreciated. And now, to close out the show, here's Mike Dunton.
That alarm always sings couple hours before the sun comes up. Open up the side, put some diesel in the lights and wait till the trucks roll up. Yeah, this ain't how most folks live their lives, dripping in sweat, working overtime. But while they're tying their ties for their 9 to 5s, we're out here changing these skylines with wood, iron, and mud. We work hard for $1, give thanks to the Lord above. Never make a man do something you can't prove. Hard work calls for a drink or 2. Expect more, it's written in our blood. With wood, iron, and mud. From the swamps to the city, from the Lone Star heat to the woods of the Georgia pine.